Morning, dear students. We are going to discuss knee joint today. So the knee joint is the largest, most complicated joint in the body. It is most superficial joint which comes under hinge variety. So now the bones which are participating in the formation of knee joint are the lower end of the femur, upper end of the tibia and the posterior surface of patella. So it is modified joint because flexion and extension is primary movement. Some rotation is possible when the knee is flexed. That's what is called as conjunct rotation. Transverse axis is not fixed. It moves forwards during extension and backwards during flexion. So the type of joint is condylar and modified hinge joint. We know hinge joint is allowing the movement only in one plane, right? Okay. So knee is essentially made up of three bones. So that is the lower end of the femur, upper end of the tibia and the posterior aspect of patella. So femur, tibia and patella are participating. Please make a note, fibula is not the component of knee joint. Fibula is not participating. Fibula is not directly involved in the joint, though we have the attachment of ligaments. Now the combination of three primitive joint cavities are femoropatellar, that is the connection between femur and patella. Then we have medial condylar, then lateral condylar. So medial condylar joint is between the medial condyle of the femur and medial condyle of the tibia. This side is the medial aspect of the picture because we know tibia is medial bone, fibula is lateral bone. Lateral condylar joint is between lateral condyle of the femur and lateral condyle of the tibia. Patellofemoral is between patella and patellar surface of the femur. Now, the stability of knee joint depends on strength and action of surrounding muscles and their tendons and the ligaments that connect femur to tibia. Now, we should know the various ligaments which are taking part in the formation of joint. So, the ligaments we have around the knee joint, first thing, like any other joint, we have capsular ligament, ligamentum patellae, tibial and fibular collateral ligaments, anterior and posterior cruciate ligaments, medial and lateral menisci. These are the primary ligaments. Apart from these ligaments, we also have secondary ligaments like oblique popliteal ligament, arcuate popliteal ligament, transverse ligament, coronary ligament. Now first, let us start with capsular ligament. So capsular ligament is thin fibrous sac which surrounds the joint. It is deficient above where the dotted line is shown above the patella, where it is pierced by suprapatellar bursa behind the lateral condyle of the tibia for the passage of tendon of popliteus muscle. So except for these two areas, we have the capsular ligament is continuously attached to the lower end of the femur and the upper end of the tibia. Okay, so this is all joint capsule, which is covering the ends of the bones, margins of the bones. Now, the capsule is strengthened posteriorly by oblique popliteal ligament, medially by tibial collateral ligament, anteromedially by medial patellar retinaculum, anterolaterally by lateral patellar retinaculum and iliotibial tract. Now let us see the attachment of this joint capsule. Now the femoral attachment is shown here, like which is shown in green color. So upper border of the intercondylar notch and adjoining articular margins of medial and lateral condyles. Then medial surface of the medial condyle about 1 centimeter above the articular margin. Lateral surface of the lateral condyle about 1 centimeter above the articular margin. Okay, including the origin of popliteus. Then anterior surface, the capsule is deficient because above patellar surface for the, we already know, I told you it is giving passage to the suprapatellar bursa. So this dotted line and this line completely is indicating the attachment of fibrous capsule. These are femoral attachments. Now let us see the tibial attachments. The peripheral margins of the articular surface of both condyles, including posterior margin of the intercondylar area, except this area, you see behind, you are finding the capsule is deficient behind the lateral condyle of the tibia for the passage of the tendon of popliteus. Okay, now in front of both condyles it is carried downwards like this. You can see the capsular attachment is going downwards up to the tibial tuberosity. Now, like any other joint, basically the inside of fibrous capsule is lined by synovial membrane. It lines the capsule except posteriorly where it is forwards by cruciate ligaments. In front it is absent from patella. Below it covers the deep surface of infrapatellar fatty pad. Medially, the infrapatellar synovial fold extends backwards from fatty pad into intercondylar fossa of femur. Okay. Now, see, this is quadriceps femoris tendon. If you remember, this quadriceps femoris is nothing but front of the thigh muscles. We have 4 muscles. What are those? We have vastus medialis, intermedius lateralis, and rectus femoris, isn't it? So you are finding this is the patella bone, this is the ligamentum patellae, this is the pad of fat. You are finding this membrane which is lining inside this brown cavity is nothing but the synovial membrane. Now, ligamentum patellae derived from the tendon of quadriceps femoris. From the apex of the patella, this ligament is extending up to the upper part of the tubercle of the tibia, nothing but tibial tuberosity. It is subcutaneous and deep infrapatellar bursa lies close to its lower end. That means just below this we have the infrapatellar bursa. When knee joint is locked, all ligaments are taut except ligamentum patellae. Okay. Then now you can see here we have this quadriceps femoris muscle, vastus lateralis, rectus femoris, vastus medialis. Below this we have vastus intermedius. So this is the like tendon of quadriceps femoris in which we have a sesamoid bone, that is patella. Then this is the patellar ligament which is attached to the tibial tuberosity, right? So now coming to the tibial collateral ligament. From this picture you can make out, don't read anything, first try to understand this picture. This is the lower end of the femur, this is the medial condyle of the femur, and the most projected area is medial epicondyle of the femur. From there you are finding one ligament is coming and it is splitting into Y-shaped band and it is getting attached to the upper end of the medial condyle of the tibia. So this ligament is medial collateral ligament, also called as tibial collateral ligament. It represents the detached lower part of adductor magnus. It is strong, long, thick and flat band of fibrous tissue. It consists of superficial part and deep part. Both are attached above to the medial condyle of the femur, just below the adductor tubercle. Now the superficial part is long and attached below to the upper part of the medial border and adjoining medial surface of the tibia, and covers the inferior medial genicular nerves and vessels and anterior part of the tendon of the semimembranosus. Tendon of sartorius gracilis and semitendinosus cross its lower part superficially. Now the deep part is short and it blends with the fibrous capsule and with the peripheral margin of the medial meniscus. It's attached below to the medial condyle of the tibia above the groove for the tendon of semimembranosus. Now coming to the connection between the lateral condyle of the femur and the head of the fibula. This connection is lateral collateral ligament, also called as fibular collateral ligament, which is derived from the primitive origin of peroneus longus muscle, which is one of the muscles of the lateral compartment of the leg. So let us see the attachments of fibular collateral ligament. Superiorly, it is attached to the lateral epicondyle of the femur. Below the popliteal groove, this is the popliteal groove, below this it is attached. Inferiorly, it is attached to the head of the fibula in front of its apex. It is separated from the lateral meniscus from capsule and tendon of popliteus. You can see here the lower end of the femur, upper end of the tibia, fibula. So you are finding on the medial aspect we have medial collateral ligament, also called as tibial collateral ligament. On the lateral side we have lateral collateral ligament, right? Then between the lower end of the femur and upper end of the tibia, you are finding there is one fibrocartilaginous structure intervening. This structure is actually called as meniscus. On the medial side, this plate is medial meniscus, and on the lateral side, you call it as lateral meniscus. Now, on the inferior aspect of the femur and superior aspect of the tibia, there is crisscrossing of ligaments like letter X. This crisscrossing ligaments are actually called as anterior cruciate ligament in the front, posterior cruciate ligament behind. We will try to elaborate each ligament. Now, coming to the oblique popliteal ligament, you are seeing this is the posterior view of the knee joint. This thing outside is all fibrous capsule. Over the capsule, thickenings are nothing but ligaments. Now see here, we have one ligament running in oblique direction on the posterior aspect. You call this as oblique popliteal ligament, which is expansion from the tendon of semimembranosus, extends from the posterior surface of the medial condyle of tibia to the lateral part of the intercondylar line of the femur. Okay, this is oblique popliteal ligament. Then we have one more ligament called as arcuate ligament, which is Y-shaped. The stem is attached to the styloid process of the head of the fibula. Posterior band is attached to the lateral condyle of the tibia. Anterior band is attached to the lateral condyle of the femur. So this is arcuate ligament. Then I said we have X-shaped ligaments running anteriorly is anterior cruciate ligament, running behind is posterior cruciate ligament. So these are present inside the joint capsule. Sometimes there will be a question like intracapsular ligaments. What do you mean by, basically all ligaments are outside the capsule. Basically ligaments are nothing but thickenings over the capsule. But these are the ligaments which are found inside the capsule. Please remember, these are intracapsular but extrasynovial, outside the synovial membrane. So they cross like letter X, hence they are called as cruciate ligaments. Okay, in front it is named as anterior cruciate ligament. Behind they are named as posterior according to their tibial attachments. Not the femoral, we start from tibia. Now coming to the, now this picture I have shown you when we were doing tibia osteology also, right? So this is the medial condyle of the tibia, this is the lateral condyle of the tibia, this is the anteriorly we have tibial tuberosity, medial condyle we have a meniscus fibrocartilaginous structure, you call it as medial meniscus, laterally we have lateral meniscus, this is intercondylar area. In this intercondylar area, if you remember me telling you London Medical College, London. I gave you one code to remember the things. Okay. Now we are elaborating on the same point. So this point you have is anterior cruciate ligament. Anterior cruciate ligament attachments are inferiorly, below it is attached to the anterior part of the intercondylar area of the tibia. Above it is attached to the posterior part of the medial surface of lateral condyle of the femur. Functions of anterior cruciate ligament are, it prevents hyperextension, it prevents forward displacement of tibial condyles, it acts as vertical axis for rotation of femur. Now coming to posterior cruciate ligament, so inferiorly it is attached to the posterior part of the intercondylar area of tibia, and you can see above it is attached to the anterior part of the lateral surface of the medial condyle of the femur. The functions of this posterior cruciate ligament, it prevents side-to-side displacement of femur and tibia. It prevents backward displacement of tibial condyles. Coronary ligaments, part of fibrous capsule which provides, see this here you have coronary and this you have coronary. So these ligaments are providing attachment to peripheral margin of medial and lateral menisci. Okay. So this is medial and lateral menisci, and to the peripheral margin, we have some extra support by means of these coronary ligaments. Now, we have one more ligament. See, this is the anterior aspect of tibia. This is medial condyle, medial meniscus, lateral condyle, lateral meniscus. Bridging medial and lateral menisci anteriorly, you have the transverse ligament. Okay, connecting the anterior horn of medial meniscus to the anterior margin of lateral meniscus, we have transverse ligament. Then we have meniscofemoral ligament. So meniscofemoral ligament attachment, posterior horn of the lateral menisci, then medial condyle of the femur in the form of two bands as anterior ligament of Humphrey and posterior ligament of Vrisberg. Okay. So basically, meniscofemoral ligaments regulate forward movement of lateral menisci during extension of knee. Okay. Now, basically, these menisci, the medial and lateral menisci, these are semilunar cartilages, right? These are semilunar cartilages. As you can see, this is lateral meniscus, medial meniscus. These are actually fibrocartilages, two crescent-shaped intra-articular discs made up of fibrocartilage. They are thick at the periphery and the inner border is thin. They deepen the articular surface of condyles of tibia, partially divide the joint cavity into upper meniscofemoral, lower meniscotibial compartments. Flexion and extension of knee take place in the upper compartment, whereas rotation of knee occurs in the lower compartment. Okay, upper is meniscofemoral and lower is meniscotibial. Upper flexion extension, lower rotation. So this is our meniscus. Upper compartment is meniscofemoral, lower compartment is meniscotibial. The upper compartment is allowing flexion extension, lower compartment is allowing rotation type of movements. Now let us describe these menisci, because menisci itself may be a 3 marks question or a 5 marks question. Basically, knee joint comes as 15 marks question, very important essay question. Now coming to the medial meniscus, so nearly it is semilunar, longer antero-posteriorly. If you measure like this, it presents two horns, like we have one is anterior horn which is narrower, okay, and we have like this is the posterior horn which is comparatively wider, thicker, okay. Then upper surface is concave and lower surface of this meniscus is flat. Medial margin is convex, okay, and attached to the capsular ligament and deep part of the tibial collateral ligament. Lateral margin is concave and free. Then lateral meniscus, it forms 4/5 of a circle. Both horns are of equal width, both anterior and posterior. Posterior horn provides attachment to meniscofemoral ligaments and few fibers of popliteus. Meniscofemoral ligaments regulate forward gliding of lateral meniscus during extension of knee joint. Popliteus pulls the meniscus backwards and prevents it from being trapped at beginning of flexion. The upper surface of lateral meniscus is concave, lower surface is flat, medial margin is concave and free, lateral margin is convex and it is attached to fibrous capsule. I'm sorry, there is a small correction. This is lateral margin. So the lateral margin is convex and it is giving attachment to capsular ligament and deep part of tibial collateral ligament, and medial margin is concave and it is free. Now the menisci function, it increases these are the menisci, medial and the lateral menisci. The menisci increase stability by deepening the tibial plateaus, decreases friction by 20%, increases contact area by 70%. It acts as a shock absorber to protect articular cartilages during weight transmission and locomotion. Peripheral part is vascular. That's why I have shown with the dark red area, and it gets nutrition from capsular arteries. Inner free part is comparatively not so much not receiving so much blood supply, hence it is avascular. nutrition is derived from synovial fluid. Now relations, basically this picture you have to keep in mind to understand the relations. So this you have to practice also and you have to draw in your exams. This picture is very, very important. So this is the superior aspect of the tibia bone. We know this is tibial tuberosity. This is anterior aspect of the picture. This is posterior. Medial meniscus area will be, this is medial side. Lateral meniscus area, this will be lateral. So anteriorly, we are finding ligamentum patellae, prepatellar bursa, transverse ligament. Posteriorly, you find like tibial nerve, popliteal vessels, oblique popliteal ligament. Okay, so we have also the medial and lateral head of gastrocnemiae and the plantaris, tendon of biceps femoris. Okay, actually posterior-medial we have to discuss and posterior-lateral. So posterior-lateral are tendon of biceps femoris, common peroneal nerve, plantaris, lateral head of gastrocnemius, oblique popliteal ligament, popliteal vessels, tibial nerve. Posterior-medial we have tendon of semitendinosus, gracilis, semimembranosus, semitendinosus and medial head of gastrocnemius. Okay. So like this you have relations. Relations are very important. It is a part of essay. Anteriorly the knee joint is related to quadriceps femoris. Those four muscles. What are those? Vasetus medialis, vasetus intermedius, vasetus lateralis and like rectus femoris. Anteromedially, medial patellar retinaculum, anterolaterally, lateral patellar retinaculum, iliotibial tract. Posteromedially, sartorius gracilis, semitendinosus, semimembranosus. Posterolaterally, biceps femoris, common peroneal nerve. Behind popliteal vessels, tibial nerve, gastrocnemius and plantaris. Now, bursae around the knee joint itself can be a 3 marks or 5 marks question. Basically, bursae are nothing but extension of synovial membrane which are filled with synovial fluid. They are extending wherever there is lot of friction and these bursae generally give lubrication so that friction can be prevented and the movement is smooth. So let us see the bursae. So in front we have subcutaneous prepatellar bursa. Okay, like see this is the patella bone and just in front of patella we have subcutaneous prepatellar bursa between skin and anterior. This is patella and skin, between them you have subcutaneous prepatellar bursa. Then we have subcutaneous infrapatellar bursa, okay, which is below the skin and tubercle of the tibia. Deep infrapatellar bursa, which is like behind the patellar ligament and anterior surface of the upper end of the tibia. Okay, you can see here this one. Then suprapatellar bursa is this, so which is like below the quadriceps femoris tendon and lower end of the femur. So there is one more bursa which is called as housemaid's bursa. Actually, the swollen subcutaneous prepatellar bursa in housemaids due to washing of floor by adopting kneel down position. It gets infected frequently, hence it is called as prepatellar bursa. The infection here is called as prepatellar bursitis, also called as housemaid's knee. So question may be framed on housemaid's knee also. Indirect clue will be given to you to identify, like it is an essay which is asking you to write about knee joint. Okay. So there may be one more condition which is clergyman's bursa, which is subcutaneous infrapatellar bursa in persons during praying in kneel down position with trunk upright. Okay, so this is subcutaneous prepatellar and this is subcutaneous infrapatellar. Okay, then laterally, between lateral head of gastrocnemius and capsule also we have bursa between tendon of biceps femoris and fibular collateral ligament. Also we find bursa between fibular collateral ligament and tendon of popliteus. Between lateral condyle of tibia and tendon of popliteus also we find bursae. Now medially, the bursae we see are between medial head of gastrocnemius and capsule. You call it as Brodie's bursa. between gyropes. If you remember, on the upper aspect of the medial surface of the tibia, we have three muscles like sartorius, gracilis, and semitendinosus, which are together called as gyropes. In between these three muscles, we have a bursa, which is called as anserine bursa. Between superficial and deep part of tibial collateral ligament also we have a bursa. Between semimembranosus and medial condyle of tibia also we have bursa. There is one more condition which is called as Baker's cyst. Chronic inflammation of bursae deep to semimembranosus. It may be present as a cystic swelling in the medial part of popliteal fossa. So Baker's cyst is actually very painful condition, and large cysts may include, generally we treat it with the help of ice treatment or compression wrap. We can give corticosteroids, painkillers, medication, strengthening exercises and aspiration of the cyst. Now coming to the blood supply of knee joint, you have to remember anastomosis around knee joint, that will help you to write everything. So the blood supply comes from superior medial genicular artery, superior lateral genicular artery, inferior medial genicular artery, inferior lateral genicular artery. These are the branches coming from popliteal. Apart from that, we have descending genicular artery, which is a branch from femoral artery, recurrent branch of anterior tibial artery. Medial genicular arteries penetrate the knee joint. Coming to the nerve supply, so from the anterior aspect, we have femoral nerve, medial aspect, we have obturator nerve, sciatic nerve, two terminal divisions, tibial and common peroneal nerves. All are supplying the knee joint. The various movements which are possible, movements and muscles producing the movements are very, very important. So the movements we have are flexion 120 to 150 degrees is brought about by biceps femoris. Same like these are the muscles which we have at the back of the thigh. Semitendinosus, semimembranosus, these three. Then gracilis, sartorius and popliteus, they help in flexion movement. Extension is brought about by quadriceps femoris, that is the muscles of the front of the thigh. External rotation is brought about by biceps femoris, that is 30 to 40 degrees rotation is possible. Internal rotation is very much less, it's only 10 degrees. So which is brought about by sartorius, gracilis, semitendinosus, popliteus and semimembranosus. Okay. Locking and unlocking of knee joint. The locking of knee joint is brought about by quadriceps femoris and vasetus, especially medialis. Unlocking of knee joint, we have popliteus. When you come to the applied aspects of the knee joint, the most painful condition what we see with old people is osteoarthritis. So osteoarthritis is like the degeneration of the articular cartilage at the ends of the bones. Like you see the lower end of the femur and upper end of the tibia, they are generally covered with the hyaline cartilage. If this gets degenerated, the bones will come closer and they start rubbing against each other. The joint space is narrowed. You can see this is normal joint, and here you can see the space has been reduced. So that's what is osteoarthritis. Cartilage and bony tissues are involved with limited change within the synovial membrane. So on X-ray findings, we see the joint space will be reduced. There will be aberration, which is nothing but joint sclerosis. Osteophytes may develop, and the cyst also may form inside the joint. So there is an angle which is called as Q angle. So angle formed by a line drawn from anterior superior iliac spine to the center of the patella. Second line from the middle of the patella to the tibial tuberosity. This is Q angle. So lines representing the pull of quadriceps muscle and axis of patellar tendon. The normal Q angle in males is 10 to 14 degrees, and in normal females the Q angles should be 15 to 17 degrees. The Q angle of greater or equal to 20 degrees is considered abnormal and creates a lateral stress on the patella, predisposing it to pathological changes. So now see, increase in the angle causes genu valgum, that is knock knee. Okay, this is and like something like this genu valgum. So increase in the angle, then you have the angle is more than 17 degrees here, and decrease in the angle causes genu varus. Okay, so genu varus and genu valgus, these are the changes with Q angle. If Q angle is increased, you call it as valgum, and if Q angle is decreased, you call it as genu varum. Okay. So Becker's cyst, I told you, like it is nothing but a cyst which is found. Also we see in popliteal fossa. Arthroscopy, it's a technique where the introduction of light into the synovial cavity permits direct visualization of structures. We will be able to see medial femoral condyle, anterior cruciate ligament, transverse ligament. We can see inside the joint. Okay, there is a condition which is called as unhappy triad. Okay, so where anterior drawer sign, like anterior cruciate ligament, prevents sliding of femur posteriorly on tibia. Okay, then posterior cruciate ligament prevents sliding of femur anteriorly on tibia, that is posterior drawer sign. We will see collection of blood inside the joint, that is hemarthrosis. Okay, so locking and unlocking of the knee. See, extension of the knee joint is locking. Remember, the vacitus medialis completes the locking. Medial rotation of femur on tibia. Unlocking is lateral rotation of femur on tibia or medial rotation of tibia on femur. It is caused by popliteus. Remember the attachment of popliteus also. Then unlocking is the beginning of flexion and completed by hamstrings. So locking and unlocking of knee joint is actually important.